regulations can protect the public and ensure standards. But over time, they develop their own self-absorbed logic. They exist so they can exist. They become constraints that stifle progress. In the world of real estate, where every day of delay can cost tens of thousands of dollars in carrying cost, the easiest answer is to just follow the regulations. Not so with our next guest. She knows what she wants, and she will fight for change, even though it is time-consuming, thus costly. And through this process, she is pioneering a better way to grow older for all of us. Please welcome Candy Ho.
Before I start, I hope you're not going to send me down your rabbit hole if I exceed 7 minutes, because I'm extremely passionate about this topic. And thank you for allowing me to share my ideas and our personal story. Before I start, I also want to dedicate this presentation tonight to my mom and dad, who were the inspiration behind this concept. I invite you all tonight to join me in the movement to revolutionize the perception and experience of retirement and aging. We all know that the aging population is a worldwide demographic crisis that governments and societies are very ill prepared for. In BC, 97.5% of retirees and elderly completely reject the notion of moving into retirement homes and nursing homes in order to have professional support and care. Instead, they choose to be lonely at home, waiting for people to visit to help with chores and errands. You gotta ask why. I believe that this stereotypical vision is the big problem, where people envision themselves being engulfed by life-sucking energy, surrounded by suffering and aging. In the 1990s, my father pioneered the concept of aging in place based on his own experience of the suffering that my grandparents went through. My grandfathers were very healthy and vibrant, but they became the caregivers to their lifelong partners of over 60 years because my grandmothers respectively had Alzheimer's and Parkinson's. So my dad created communities where under one roof you can go from completely active and independent to having a little support through assisted living and then to the end of life with licensed care, so that couples would not have to be torn apart just when they most need each other's companionship, and they don't have to worry about ever having to move again just because they need more care. Unfortunately, by the time he finished his first community, both sets of my grandparents had already passed away. But that didn't stop him from trying to improve more lives. He built another 7 communities and founded the BC Senior Living Association, so that today, this is the standard of retirement communities. He raised the bar. But still, across Canada, less than 10% of our retirement communities offer the full spectrum of care, allowing for aging in place and peace of mind. And still, 8 million Canadian adult children spend about 21 hours a week changing light bulbs, running errands, filling the parents' refrigerators, picking up medication, and otherwise providing daily assistance with life for family members and friends. I'm pretty sure most of you know relatives who are in their 70s, 80s, and 90s who resist moving into a retirement home to have some social connection and peace of mind. Because at the end of the day, let's think about it. Who wants to consider themselves as having special needs, wanting to live in a place that is called a retirement home? Because there's stigma and shame attached to that. By 2012, after myself being in the retirement living industry for 15 years, my parents were 70 and 69, in the same predicament as my grandparents back in the day. My mom has had Parkinson's for 10 years. I decided that I needed to take the opportunity while I could to build another aging in place retirement community so that they could enjoy the fruits of their own legacy. I found the land for our flagship residence, Opal by Element, at King Edward in Cambie, where our family was raised. Having watched my dad's example of challenging status quo and creating solutions where none had existed before, I took on the project of envisioning what really would make them happy and fulfilled. I found out that the answer was meaningful relationships, connection to their purpose and legacy, which for them really it rests in our family. I know that because my mom, through the 10 years of Parkinson's, it being a progressive disease, she's had days when she couldn't swallow, she can't breathe, and I've been taken out of meetings because she was paralyzed in her fierce commitment to try to be independent, shopping on her own. And at home, she, instead of hiring a care aide, hired a family chef, and that spoke volumes to me, because all she wanted was to bring us home every day to engage in meaningful conversation, having some great meals, watching the grandkids grow, develop their little personalities, run around, laugh and play. We are very fortunate because my parents created such a united family, and there are a lot of elderly people out there who don't have the same. But that doesn't mean that they don't want to feel valued just in being who they are. They want to be relevant and socially integrated. So I challenged the idea, why is it that professional support and care can only be provided in retirement homes that are age restricted? I went to the City of Vancouver challenging their housing agreement and the age covenant that says in order to have support and care, you need to be a certain age and above. I also worked with the City of Victoria and the Township of Langley, their mayors and councillors and planning staff to rethink their policy and age covenants. So today, just as an example, at Opal, our resident profile is no longer the industry average of 87 years old plus. Instead, we have 30% in their 50s, 34% in their 60s, and the rest mostly 70s and above, but also some grandchildren. Aside from providing just the homes of condominiums, rental suites, and licensed care, we provide staff and extensive activities programming that are not just targeted at the special challenges of the elderly, but are designed to engage families and just multiple generations in fun bonding activities to create beautiful memories. These include our culinary program, where we have cooking classes for 3 generations to come together, making pizza from scratch and pasta from scratch. Things that you might not even bother to do at home because of the mess. We also have a rooftop garden where they can plant, cultivate, and harvest food, and then take it out to the farmers markets so that the seniors are not only feeling like they're not a burden on society, but they're actively contributing. We have intergenerational spaces that are safety and soundproofed, with childhood educators offering and creating the dynamic that would allow seniors to pass on their wisdom, share their life stories and experiences, teach knitting and sewing, and vice versa. The children also share their lightness of heart, their laughter, their purity, and the skills that allow seniors to feel like they're keeping up with the world, like FaceTime and Skype. So we're really trying to think about this in such a different way. It's as simple as in a retirement home, do elderly people want coffee? Do they want to drink wine? Well, let's just throw that all out the window, because it shouldn't be a retirement community. It should just be a home and a community where people come together. And if that's the case, then everybody should have a bottle of wine with their 10 or 12 group of company. So one development at a time, Element is trying to break status quo and inspiring government to change their policies to become more progressive, to stop isolating people and casting them aside by age and need. Think about the life expectancy. Today, it's about the 80s, and a lot of us can expect to live to be about 100, 110, 120. I think I'll be 130. But if you think about it, if we start retiring in our 60s and 70s, we have possibly decades ahead of us. And what would that feel like if we continue to be stigmatized and surrounded by ageism, and having to move into a retirement home where we're labeled just in case we have a heart attack and stroke? We shouldn't be categorized, because after a life of sacrifice working towards a work-optional life, we really just should have peace of mind and freedom. I hope that Element's model of intergenerational aging in place will become a pervasive one, where it's as common as condominiums are. We need a grassroots movement for governments to hear the public's voice, that we want inclusiveness, integration of all ages, and a sense of connection to real community. I truly believe that the solution for the aging population is not to isolate people and cast them aside in homes with special names and stigmatizing labels. This is a societal problem that universally affects all ages. Let's relieve the stress on the sandwich generation so they don't have to juggle the demanding careers and dependent children, and then also feel strained and not having enough time, energy, or patience to run errands and chores for our parents. We all want to do better, but sometimes it's just a little challenging. I hope that you'll go home today and start some conversations with your friends and family and use your voice to help government be inspired to have a shift in mindset and adopt more progressive policies. Thank you.